confessing to each other that we never studied for our exams at school, so I feel a little bit guilty talking about the stress of exams because it's exam time in senior school at the moment, and the psychologist joins us now to talk about some tips for parents to help their teens through what feels like the most stressful time in their lives. Please welcome Sally-Ann McCormack. That was just my way of dealing with the stress, honestly. Like, I wasn't a genius by any stretch. I failed a lot. But I was so stressed and strung out and exhausted, I just had to go to bed, you know?
Yeah, well, actually, just of interest, I actually didn't do very well in Year 12 either. And so one of the messages at the end of this segment, really, that I want people to take home is that these Year 12 exams and Year 11 and any other study, you know, that you're doing at the moment is only the first pathway into whatever tertiary studies you want to do. It is not the only way.
It's easy to say, though, but when you're in Year 11 or 12 or even Year 10, it feels like that is the big thing right ahead of you, and in a way it is. Yeah. Can you tell us what factors contribute to that feeling of stress?
Well, a lot of it is parents, the teachers and the students themselves. So, you know, a lot of times we'll say, first of all, you know, who's putting pressure on you? But it actually isn't always that. It's actually from within as well. But the schools certainly, I mean, that's their job. You expect them to say, you need to do your homework, you need to get the work done. So, you know, the pressure's coming from everywhere. So these students really struggle with that.
Is it a horses for courses scenario in that some kids need to be pushed, other kids don't need to be pushed? So is it a matter of working out what your kid is first? Oh,
look, it certainly is. And there's actually some other things that we need to know physiologically as well about the students. Because one of the things in terms of pushing is it's useless trying to get someone to study for more than 4 hours a day. We have brain, you know, neurotransmitters in the brain, which is the brain chemicals, big, you know, fancy word, which really means that we need to keep our brains hydrated. We need to keep, you know, the nutrition coming. You know, so one of the things, because parents are always saying to me, what do I do with my kids? You need to actually make sure that they have the healthy meals, feed them when they're hungry, and make sure that they, you know, have some great foods there. Sleep is the number one thing. You know, we've always talked about this with adolescents. They need 9¼ hours sleep. Now, I do not know an adolescent that gets that amount of sleep, but that's really important. It's a study tool. So if there's any way of encouraging that now that, you know, some of them are on breaks now, some of the exams have started in some places. So, you know, we need to really look after them and make sure. Sorry.
Can I talk, Sally-Ann? Being a former VCE teacher, what I think kids can get really, really pressured, but I think you can turn the beat around and say to them, this is also a wonderful opportunity and a great choice that you can make in your life. And if you do well in your exams and we can support you as a family, it's a platform for having a lot of choice about what subjects you want to do at uni or whatever. What about, can we talk about... I don't think a lot of parents even know when their kids' exams are on and how scattered they are. Some kids have 2 exams in the same day. So can we talk about some strategies that the family can do, such as putting up a timetable on the fridge, planning the weeks ahead before the exam so that it's spread out, so that kids aren't cramming and having Red Bull and
That's a good point, because my parents were so busy working and they didn't know when my exams were or what they were or any of that stuff.
Yeah, I think that it is important as a family to work on that and make sure that everyone knows exactly what's happening. But also for the students themselves as well, because it's their responsibility too, to make sure that they plan things. One of the things that I want all parents to, you know, tell your children this, do not rewrite your notes. That's a waste of time. That's passive learning. What you really need to encourage them with is to do some active learning. So, you know, try practice exams, do lots of other activities so you're actively learning and understanding what it is that you're talking about or trying to learn, not the passive, you know, let's just rewrite the notes and hope that some of it goes in.
Within a day, does it come a point where you just can't get it any more into your head? Does your head sort of just go, that's enough?
Yep, yeah, absolutely. The neurotransmitters are depleted after a period of time. So what you need to do over, you know, the period of 4 hours, if that's what you've got to do, is maybe every 45 to 50 minutes, stop, take a break, change subject, change topic. One of the things that I do with my children and the students that I see as well in my practice is I'll actually do a 2 or 3 day timetable, and we'll actually plan out, you know, maybe an hour and a half even for, you know, one subject in the morning, an hour break, and keep chopping and changing the day around a little bit and making it different every day.
And you make a good point, Sally-Ann, about the writing out and the passive notes. It really is an ineffective way of learning. But I think we need to present kids with ideas, because they're so stressed at the moment that they think that's the only thing and they're cramming. But one thing that can work really well is study groups as well. And as long as you're monitoring it as the adult, but get the other kids around, bounce questions off each other. What do you think is going to be on the exam? How would we answer that?
Yeah, because the studies group at my house would have been pash-fed. Pash fest!
Exactly.
You've got to supervise.
You got to supervise.
Or that could be the breaks. That's the other thing. It could be an hour geography, Pash fest, an hour
Keeps it
French.
interesting.
Yeah.
Oh, wow, the cold sores are flying thick and fast.
And glandular fever.
Can I ask you another question? This is a practical question. If your kid is in, say, year 11 and has a part-time job, working a fast food chain or something, should you encourage them to keep that job
Absolutely.
or give it up?
Look, there's actually a recommendation for no more than 10 hours a week in part-time work. And also social things too. The amount of parents that will actually say, well, they can't go out to any more parties now. Often at this age group, there's the 18ths. You need to let them go. They need to have a social life. They need to be able to get out there and be with their friends. Not, they're off topic. You know what? They're going to do the social media anyway. And, for the amount of times, I do remember my parents, and you remember who, when you did this to me, they actually kept me home one night. They said, you're supposed to be studying. You need to, and obviously I didn't do very well, as I just said, so maybe they were right. But they made me stay home. And I remember just sitting in front of the television, because we didn't have computers then, and just refused to do any work because, I wasn't going to. So there's no point in keeping them home. They're going to use their computers, they're going to use their phones or whatever else they're going to do. We need to give them that outlet, the passion in their lives. I often talk about passion. If you have a rich life, if you have the ability to do, lots of the things that you love, it enriches every part of your life, and that includes your study too.
Yep, absolutely. Please thank psychologist Sally-Ann McCormack for her great advice. Good luck, of course, to all the students sitting exams around the country.